seal terminals and extreme seal terminals. These are used in all of your transportation, code 12s, farming, anything with vehicles that run into harsh environments or machinery that's in harsh environments. They're acid proof, corrosion, any kind of resistant to any moistures, any elements that might cause issues for your wiring. You can order this product, Crimp and Seal, in an assortment, a pre-made assortment. You can also order it by piecemeal. The value in the shrink tube itself is it's an uninsulated terminal inside with a mastic sealant. The extreme seal has a nylon insulated terminal inside it with the same shrink tube and mastic seal. This mastic seal seals anything out of the crimp so that no chemicals, acids, alkalis, water, anything like that, moisture gets in where the two wires connect. The crimp tool that you use is very important. This is the Klein tool. There's typically two types of crimp. Maybe you can see the tooth there. It's the indent crimp, and right behind it is the cradle crimp. The cradle protects the terminal. My next favorite is the Ideal 429. The cradle is right out here, and you can see how nice it is, and see all the indent right here. You don't want to puncture the insulation with the indent crimp. First thing we're going to do is cut about two 10-inch pieces of this Hypalon wire. We're going to be using 14 gauge red. I'm going to cut two, roughly 10-inch pieces. There's one. Doesn't really matter how long they are. There's two. The next thing I'm going to do is strip the ends off these wires so that I can splice the two of them together using a Crimp and Seal butt connector. I'm going to use a Klein wire stripping tool, and I'm going to strip approximately a 1/4 inch of insulation off the wire. Simply squeeze it about halfway through, pull it out, and that's what your product looks like. I'm going to take the other wire and do the same. Just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to use the HS2 Ideal stripping tool. You just put the wire in, allow approximately your 1/4 inch, squeeze the handle, and away you go. This is the Crimp and Seal butt connector on my wire, like that. The next thing I do is crimp that Crimp and Seal. Make sure you've got a good connection. We're going to bring the other wire in the other side just like any normal butt connector. Come up to the cradle, crimp again. Make sure we've got a firm connection. Next thing, I'm going to put an eye on each end. I'm going to bring it into the cradle crimp. Squeeze it real good. Make sure I'm good there. Do the same thing on the other end. It's not completed because we haven't shrunk the shrink tube. I'm going to turn the shrink gun on. I've got a heat deflector here. Put the terminal in there and start moving it. You don't want to overheat your shrink tube. Start in the middle, work the air out. You can see the shrink tube seal and a mastic glue coming out the inside. Now you got to watch that heat gun. You can roast hot dogs on that sucker. It's pretty warm. I've built these with the guy standing right there. It makes a good demonstration right on your store. When you get done, you should see this mastic. Wait a minute or two and let this cool down so that the glue actually seals. One of the ways I really think people get impressed is to have them pull on this and see how hard they can pull on it. It really will take quite a bit. Sometimes I've had the wire break before the terminal will release. Go ahead and try this. It works and people like it. The Extreme Seal has a nylon insulated terminal inside it with the same shrink tube and mastic seal. This mastic seal seals anything out of the crimps. Problem areas like acids, alkalis, road film, salt. A great upgrade, and it just cost a few pennies more than Crimp and Seal. This is actually the Type 5 terminal with the support sleeve where you can mechanical crimp and electrical crimp, and then you've got the shrink with the mastic seal on it. This stuff is good. It is the most durable terminal that we sell. I'm going to do the same thing. I've already cut and stripped my wire. I'm going to slide the wire right in the terminal. Use the same 429 crimp tool. This time I'm going to make an electrical crimp. And because this has a support sleeve in it, I'm going to make the support crimp back here, a mechanical crimp. I'm going to cut a couple of pieces of wire about 10 inches and strip them, and we'll crimp and shrink the Extreme Seal connectors. Then I'm going to use a butt connector. Simply crimp your butt connector. Both sides. We're going to put this together real quick. Wire inside. We got it in there. Make sure you've got your cradle crimp. Crimp that good. Right now is a good time to make sure it's snug. We're going to come right into the other side. I want to crimp on a male and female end, part number KTN 48 and 49-6. Crimp it real good there. Put this one in. Your customers are oftentimes busy. If you practice this once or twice at home and get Murphy out of the way, typically you can put one of these together in a matter of seconds. I've got it all together. It's nice and snug. I'm ready to shrink. Start it on one side. Try and work the air out of the shrink. Doesn't take a whole lot to see that mastic start going. Come back and get the butt connector, again starting in the middle and working out. See how quickly that shrinks? Once you cool that mastic, oftentimes it'll actually hold that crimp better than the crimp itself. That glue is actually pretty strong. All right, you don't want to over shrink your shrink tube because it can cause the shrink tube to crack and break. You should be able to see a little bit of the mastic start to ooze between the shrink tube and the wire right here. All right, you now have a piece to carry with you to demonstrate to your customers. You can pull it apart, show how tight it is, maybe attach it to your sample boards or your catalog, and take it on and off and use it for an order starter.